I'm calling to order the City of Colleyville Planning and Zoning Pre-Commission meeting. We're going to start with roll call. Commissioner Moore, here. Commissioner Mattison, absent. Commissioner Bond, absent. Commissioner Syed,
Here.
Commissioner Cook,
Here.
Commissioner Holt, absent. Commissioner Bevel.
Here.
All right, with that, we will start the meeting.
There have been no changes since last time that we met, except that there was a consideration of an amendment for a PUDC for the daycare, and they did withdraw. We are expecting them to reapply, and we will be running at that point in time in SUP and the amendment for the PUD at that same time.
Okay, thank you. Can we go with, I believe we have a couple of commissioners here that missed the last meeting. Do we want to kind of walk through these? Okay, perfect.
Okay, so this first case is a special use permit for 816 Shelton Drive. That's where it's located, not too far from here off of Pleasant Run and Shelton Drive. Go through that kind of fast. Okay, so a new home was being built there. And I'm going to go through a quick history. So a minor plat with plat waivers was approved for that property. They did then apply for a building permit for a new home, which was approved January 2019. In August of 2019, the Land Development Code was amended for placement of fencing from the property lines adjacent to a street. Then a fence permit was applied for in February of 2020. At that time, that application for that permit for that fence was denied, and they are asking for the SUP, and that was submitted in May of 2020. You can see that what they're asking for is specifically, I'm finding it here real quick.
Is there a party going on here somewhere?
Dude, they're asking to encroach into the street side setback for a corner lot. And yeah, that is kind of loud, isn't it? Are they testing the
Oh, they're
speakers?
testing. Oh,
They're
okay.
testing the speakers.
It's our own personal concert.
Yeah, so they are going to be, they're asking for a 5-foot steel fence to be located 10 feet from the corner street side property line, which is within the street side yard of the property. Where that red line is on the drawing is where they'd like to place it. And these are some photos taken of where those posts are, is where they'd like to place that fence. And then the applicant provided some drawings as well, some photos. And then also some photos of other neighboring properties that have a fence similar to, I believe, what they're asking to do. And we've just indicated here those lot sizes are all over 40,000 square feet, which allows those properties to have that ability. We have received no no letters in opposition. Staff is recommending denial because it does not meet the technical requirements of the Land Development Code. But under this provision in the Land Development Code, they can ask to differ, which is why they're before you this evening.
That's the first time I'm seeing language like that. Asked to differ, like say that we think it does meet the Land Development Code? Or do you want to expand on that?
That provision allows for something different than the code allows.
Okay,
So I just said it kind of in a different
so
way.
So it's basically saying they need an SUP to put this fence up.
Correct, in the location where they want to put it.
Okay.
The difference between what you showed us and what they're wanting to do, that was a circle drive, right?
No.
Oh, wait.
That's it right here.
Yeah, they've already got the post put up right there, as you can see, so you can see exactly
So
where it's gonna go.
where should it be?
Well, I think, and y'all correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe it can be there, but it can be no higher than 30 inches. I also believe maybe some of that rear section can be the height they're asking for,
That's correct.
and then they would transition down to a 30-inch at a certain marker in there.
Yeah, so the regulation requires for anything taller than 30 inches to be at the building line, which is a 40-foot building line.
Okay,
So anything in closer than the 40-foot building line,
yeah.
taller than 30 inches, the only way would be to go through the special use permit process.
Okay, so that they could put a taller fence. Can we see the pictures again? So they already have a taller fence
Yeah,
right
so
there at
they-
the
yeah.
building line.
It's a taller post, not the fence.
Ma'am?
They put just the posts there.
No, I'm talking about, if you look at that picture on the top right, there's a fence at the building line, a wooden fence.
Oh, yeah.
Right, more, yeah, close to the building line.
So why are they wanting to put it there?
So they, I read through it,
Yeah.
so their driveway is protected. They talked about.
Oh,
safety
exposure to the
concerns
street.
Right off of
Mhm.
Pleasant Run.
Mhm.
Their garage doors would be, right there.
Uh-huh,
for easy
I get it.
access. See, and to me, this is a perfect example where, for me, where should be allowed. They got a driveway right on Pleasant Run, which isn't the quietest, it's not a very busy street, but it's not a neighborhood quiet street either. And they got, they've got a garage doors in their driveway right there. So I don't have a problem with this.
It's a very busy intersection,
Yeah.
because opposite of that is Colleyville Elementary and a Baptist church.
There's a lot going on there when school's getting out.
Yeah, so they're gonna have a driveway in their cars, unless they are able to put it, and I do have a general question about metal fences in a second, but unless they're able to put this up, they're gonna have, open driveway. And I actually think it's already up, but
It's still the post.
I think the whole thing is up.
Just the
No.
post.
No,
No?
I drove by today.
Oh, did you?
Yeah.
I mean, I mixed up with another one then.
Yeah.
So they could have 30 inches
Yes.
as opposed to, how many feet is that?
It's 5 feet.
5 feet? Okay.
What's 5 feet, the one they have up here?
The one that they would like to put it.
Yeah, the one they
put
like
up.
to put up is 5 feet, yes.
So-
Another general question I have about these types of fences, because I saw an example of this. Are there any rules about if a metal fence is through SUP process is allowed? Is there any rules about what you can and cannot do to that fence in terms of making it less see-through, or can you put up shading or other material on that fence, block it out? You know what I mean?
believe it's 75%.
So the only option I would really consider would be landscaping.
Yeah.
So it wouldn't necessarily be attached to the fence itself. If they want some type of mesh or anything else as part of the fence, they should be asking for that now. So otherwise, it would just be landscaping that would be
So they
allowed.
could not attach like
A mesh,
sunscreening material
Right.
to the fence?
right,
Okay.
yeah. What is being presented and approved, whatever is approved, that's what's authorized. Anything different, they would have to come back and have that additional element to be authorized as well. Other than landscaping, that's not part of the fence itself.
I saw one of those this week. Yeah. Yeah, that would not, that kind of totally rules out having the intent of having the see-through fence anyways. It's no different than a wood fence, in my opinion. But
I
not
agree.
that, to clarify, that was a general question. These people aren't asking.
Yeah, it was more of a general question in terms of, so when I'm making a decision, I know that, because I saw that somewhere else.
something that was important to make sure that it was very crystal clear, we can write that into the special use permit if
But
we
there's no
need
need
to.
to.
Right, yeah. In my opinion, they're presenting what they're asking for, and that's what is being approved. And if they try to modify that, they would have to come back.
Okay, thank you.
What about the dates on this thing? Because the building permit was pulled prior to us changing the code.
Well,
The permit for the home, the
Permit for the home.
permit for the fence.
But they did not permit the fence.
No, they did not.
Right.
Yeah, and our practices, at least I know current practices, we write on the permit itself that it does not include fencing or swimming pools
Got it.
or other ancillary elements because they have their own permitting process.
Okay, thank you.
Commissioner Cook, could you swing your microphone thank you. I have a note.
Maybe I didn't want to be heard.
Thank you.
No, okay, sorry.
Okay. Next.
Next,
Everybody good on that? Everybody understand what, any questions?
No.
okay. The next is for another SUP for a fence to extend in the required street side yard. And this is located in the Creekside at Colleyville subdivision, right there on the corner of LaJoy and Petrus Boulevard there. It is zoned PUDR. We know it's a house. And you can see on the left there the pictometry, the house itself. So a little history on this. In your packet, you did see an informational letter from staff that identifies the fence regulations at that time from November of 2018, August of 2019. Building permit for the new home was submitted and approved. August 2019, the land development code was amended for placement of fencing from property lines adjacent to a street. April of 2020, the fence permit application was submitted and denied, and then in May of 2020, an SUP application was submitted, and they are asking to place a 5-foot iron rod fence to be located approximately 5 feet from the corner side street property line, which is within the street side yard of the property. So on this one, what you're looking at is, if you see that orange line at the top, that's an adjacent property, and they want to basically do something very similar to what that property has and kind of run that way to encapsulate that side yard into some usable yard for them. And it's got a 5-foot difference there from the right-of-way. And they did, the posts are up there too, but they did not put the fencing up, so you can kind of see what that would look like. And then the adjacent property as well. Some more photos of the properties, you can kind of see it a little bit better up there. And then driving around Creekside, you've got kind of similar types of conditions. You can kind of tell at this point these were done a few years prior to the fence change. So these are set in a little bit different place than what they're asking for tonight. But again, because the provision of the land development code does allow for the ability to ask to do something that is different than what the code allows. We did not receive any letters or anything regarding this property, and staff is recommending denial because it doesn't meet the technical requirements of the land development code. I'm going to go back to that one picture. There we go.
Can you go back to the other picture that shows the fence that's already there behind it?
Sure. Does that help?
Yes, it does.
Okay,
So they just want to match the fence line with their
Yeah.
neighbors.
that's correct.
And so if they were to put a fence up, per compliance, they could put a fence up, a wooden fence that's along the side of the house. if they wanted to.
Where this red area is on here is where they could.
They could, yeah, that's it, okay.
Mhm.
And then these specifically call out the type of fence that would be allowed, right?
They are asking for something specific, I think in this case, because they're trying to match the adjacent
But
neighbor.
that would say that if it was approved, it's already in there, that is a 5-foot iron type fence.
Mhm.
We have that language in the resolution.
Yeah. They don't need approval, right, to put a wood fence in right there.
Where the red line is.
Yeah,
They would need to take out a building permit to do that.
yeah, permit, yeah. Okay.
Keep going.
Keep going. Next, is that it for this case?
That is it for this.
Anybody got any questions on that? No? Okay.
It's another SUP request for a fence, and this time it's for 2 lots, for 3609 LaJoy Lane and 3608 Valmer Avenue. And these are back-to-back. This one's a little different because there is an existing retaining wall. And so they're asking to put an 8-foot wood fence on top of the retaining wall. It has the PUDR zoning. It's located at the Creekside subdivision. You can kind of see where that, what we've got indicated on here in yellow is actually the height of the retaining wall. It kind of shifts and changes with the grading of the land there. So a little history, in 2016, the retaining wall was built by the developer for the subdivision. In August of 2019, the Land Development Code was amended for placement of fencing from property lines adjacent to a street. In May of 2020, a building permit for a new home was submitted and approved for 3608 Valmer Avenue. And then in May of 2020, an SUP application was submitted. Building permit for 3609 LaJoy Lane has not been submitted, but both lots do share the same retaining wall. You can kind of see it here with this exhibit where they want to place it. I'm going to show you some pictures, kind of give you a clearer view of what they're asking. So they're desiring to do something similar to what this property has. And in the neighborhood, there is something similar. So you've got the 8-foot wood fence on top of a retaining wall, and there is a little bit of a gap between the fence and retaining wall, which could be a little more difficult to maintain and could create a possible situation with people could step down and possibly get
I'm
injured.
sorry. What were you meaning? I was a little confused by that.
All right,
Their side exhibit. Okay.
yeah.
So what they've highlighted in green is that area that they would be making up if it was allowed to be on the retaining wall, which is about 5 feet. So if they put it at the 15-foot build line, you have that 5-foot area where, what she was trying to say is if they're maintaining it, they could potentially step off and maybe hurt themselves. So that's one of the justifications that they had provided. So she's pointing that out.
Oh, gotcha, okay. And if they use a 15-foot build line, is there a rule of what type of fence they would be able to put up or whatever they wanted?
Well, they could do a wood or a wrought iron up to 8 feet in height.
So it's a 5-foot, how much is that difference?
Yeah, it's a 5-foot,
5-foot.
yeah. So the wall is at the 10-foot easement line, and the required setback in this neighborhood is 15 feet.
They're not looking to put a fence in a front yard area at all?
No. So
So,
actually, I'm not sure the limits of that. We'll have to get some clarification on that, but it'd just be on these side areas. They would not be allowed to go forward to the house.
forward of the house.
Yeah, because it kind of looked like it from the picture a little bit, which is, yeah, it's just where the retaining wall's at.
Yeah, so it wouldn't be the entire run. Once they get to the front of the house, that's where they would have to stop.
And what's your recommendation on this one?
Denial.
Denial because it doesn't meet the technical requirements of the land development code.
So the applicant is a developer or someone who's living in
It's the
the
home builder.
builder?
But then they could, so if you didn't approve this, they could put a fence at the 15-foot build line, and they have like a 5-foot strip of grass they'd have to kind of figure out how to mow.
Yes.
Okay.
Or they could just put landscaping there, some kind of landscaping.
What happened to the other, and you probably don't remember this, but we had a similar case months ago, where was a retaining wall. I know we voted to approve it. Did the city council vote that through? Do you remember that? They did.
They approved it.
Okay.
And that was the one going down. Like it was a retaining wall holding the road back from the house. So we were looking at a 30-inch fence going down into a backyard, and we allowed the higher fence as more of a safety precaution, I believe.
That's right.
And this is that's a similar deal, It's just working with a tough situation there. But they could, okay, that's any fence, no matter what height, right there,
At the 15 feet.
at the 15 feet.
They could have,
Yeah.
yeah. Yeah, just retaining walls add a whole new element to
Yeah.
safety perspective.
Yeah.
All right.
Okay.
And last but not least, it is an amendment, real quick. So this was withdrawn by the applicant. This was the amended PUD for the hours of operation for the daycare that we had been discussing previously. Just showing that it's been withdrawn by the applicant. This is for consideration of amendments to Chapter 1, Section 1.17 of the Land Development Code, specifically for the permitting of expiration of vested project rights. So here's the language here, and staff was directed to prepare an ordinance that applies to the project expiration regulations to certain projects existing at the time of adoption, provided the project meets the definition of dormancy, and the city's ordinance provides a reasonable grace period prior to enforcement to allow pending dormant project owners to comply. So the language here goes through and does describe some definitions and things, what development is, what dormant is, discussing permits, what an individual permit is or series of permits there, person, and then progress towards completion of a project. So it does propose in this draft ordinance that a development project shall become dormant and expire if for a period of 2 years subsequent to the original approval, no progress is made towards completion of the project. And then after that, a development project shall become dormant and expire if for a period of 5 years subsequent to the first application for a permit being filed, no progress has been made towards completion of the project. So what that means here is if a city gets in a, can I use a site plan as an example? That'd be a good example. City gets in a site plan for a business, and the site plan comes in, goes through the review process, it gets issued, and it doesn't, it never gets built in that 2-year time period. They would have to then come back through and reapply for a new site plan review. That's one scenario. The other is if they did get started, and they got to a certain point, but then it sat. This language would then say, okay, after 5 years, it reverts back to the state that it was, and whoever was developing there would have to reapply. So it's a way to recognize the vested rights of the developer, but as well as kind of protecting the city.
We actually have one like that. Pretty sure. 5 years. We'll talk about it sometime, I'm sure, in the future.
Okay. I would like to address with each applicant tonight that, due to scheduling conflicts, we've got 4 commissioners here, and I'd like to make all of them aware that they have the ability to table their cases until the next meeting, and make sure that they all understand that 1 vote no is a failed motion. And then then they would have to appeal to council, correct? So do y'all want to handle that portion of it, or do you want me to handle that before I ask y'all to present?
So I can see it running a couple different ways. I think it would be wise to do an announcement at the beginning of the
Okay.
meeting
Okay.
that that's the case.
Okay.
I suppose if they wanted to go ahead and table it right up front, we could do that. I guess I'm asking a question with this other statement. I suppose during the process, if they get concerned in any way, they can ask for it to be tabled at any time?
Yeah.
Does that sound
Yes,
appropriate to
that
everybody?
is, yeah.
Okay,
I just
And
want to
then-
make sure that we have it once, and that way all the applicants coming through tonight understand the situation.
yeah. So I think an announcement at the beginning of the meeting,
Yeah.
be right after the
Okay.
invocation
Yeah.
and the pledge. And then your options would be to table it for 2 weeks to our next meeting, which typically is our work session, but you
Yeah,
could make
we
it a
could, yeah.
regular meeting.
Yeah.
Or if they're okay, they can
Okay.
table it till our regular
Okay.
meeting in July.
Okay.
I'll hit that.
You got the invocation for tonight?
I do.
Perfect. All right, I think we're all square here. Okay? All right. Work session is adjourned.